What is up, my Squirtleites? It is I, your king, welcoming you back to more Let's Play Destiny. In the last episode, we finally got ourselves the Stasis subclass, and with it, we also got ourselves a brand new exotic, No Time to Explain, from the Exo Stranger herself. Now, we are back in the tower because we do need to debrief with Commander Zavala before we do anything else, but we got quite a lot to do today, so I'm going to get this over with as quickly as possible.
Aramis is gone. I can't say I agree with your methods, but you did what had to be done. Europa is a treasure trove of Golden Age knowledge. That knowledge, good and bad, belongs to humanity and must remain out of the hands of our enemies. With their Kell gone, the Fallen will be scattered and disorganized. Frequent targeted strikes will keep them that way. I've made an arrangement with the Awoken. Temporary immunity for Varix while he helps us secure Europa. It doesn't sit right with me after what happened to Cade. But there are greater threats on our doorstep now.
And there we go. Now that Aramis is defeated, the Vanguard hopes to reclaim Europa for humanity. Zavala asks you your help in destabilizing what remains of House Salvation. He informs you that Varix will help guide you through your first mission, sabotaging a fallen weapons factory in Europa. Return to Varix on Europa for more details. So we will be doing that soon, but not necessarily today. Now, I am going to grab a couple of things here as we go. So first things first, let me check the Postmaster, because, yeah, like I said, we got a lot to do today. We're going to be going back and rendezvousing with Varix here, like I said, soon, but let me grab a couple of things here. I'm also going to be deleting, actually, I should probably just be putting a few things in the vault, so let me do that really fast. And now that is done, let me quickly talk to Master Rahul over here. We're going to turn in a few engrams, see if we get anything good out of these. Looks like a whole lot of arms, and that's about it. And I did not mean to grab an enhancement prism there. Oops, that was my bad. That's what I get for getting too click happy. So I can, at the very least, use that to infuse up my arms a little bit, so I can get rid of all of these as well. Just do that super fast. And as for our helmet, we can boost that a little bit too, so might as well. Those power gains are going to be coming in a lot of handy. As for boots, I don't think I'm going to be touching anything there because I'm pretty sure Stompy's is exactly where I want it to be. Shadow Spectre is really our best one. Well, let's just get rid of Be Thy Guide then, and then we got our chest pieces here. Scorned Baron Vest is the best one. That could absolutely bump my chest piece up just a little bit. I'm not going to complain about that too much, so let's get that done. There we go. Now let me head on over here and talk to Banshee really quickly. And Banshee is actually going to have this for us. Bunch of Guardians storm the Deep Stone Crypt, and next thing I know, I wake up in a daze sprawled out on the floor. Seems crazy to assume the two are connected, but then again, Stranger Things and all that, you know? Now you walk in here and my insides go haywire all over again. A lot of weird images flashing through my mind. Hard to make sense of them all. Vex, a Blade, and a few dead Exos on Europa. Unhappy with their lot in life, I imagine. Not sure what that's all about. Maybe see about finding them? Help me make sense of all this. I'll be waiting. So this is probably the first time we've ever gotten a quest from Banshee that actually has to do with Banshee. So we need to locate and scan 3 dead Exos on Europa. This is all incredibly important towards what we're doing, and I'm also going to be heading down this way as well. But we're going to be taking care of that quest a little bit later on. I have that slated for later on in this whole Beyond Light expansion thing. But make sure you pick that up as soon as you are done with the quest. This was originally unlocked as soon as the world's first beat the Deep Stone Crypt raid, which was it with Deep Stone Crypt? Maybe it was actually before Deep Stone Crypt came out, now that I think about it, because if I remember correctly, this was actually a weapon that was crucial towards beating Deep Stone Crypt. But I'm going to head down here really quickly because we also have another quest that seems to be coming from the Drifter. So let's have a look at this real fast.
Putting Stasis into a grenade launcher, huh? Wish I'd thought of that. Listen, I think the Fallen have bitten off a little more than they can chew here. What do you say we take this thing off their hands? See if you can find intel on where they're keeping the prototype. In the meantime, I'm gonna call in a favor from the shore.
And here we have ourselves yet another exotic quest. The Drifter examines the blueprints you found. Turns out that the Fallon are using Praxis's armor tech to create a weapon capable of channeling stasis energy. Aramis had plans to distribute this weaponry to Fallen all across the system, expanding the capabilities of her army. Drifter likes the idea so much that he immediately cooks up a plan to steal the prototype from the Fallen. He thinks Spider's associates might be able to offer some insider information too. While he looks over the blueprints and calls in a favor, he asks you to go to Europa and gather more intel on the prototype. So that's something that we can kind of do passively while we're working on stuff. We got to get some Fallen captains and servitors down, which those are not the most common enemy in the world, so that's why you're going to want to make sure you grab that as soon as possible as well. All right, we've grabbed some exotic quests. We've debriefed with Zavala. Let's head back to Europa. All right, and here we are. Let's start by talking to the Exo-Stranger once again.
Humanity's refuge does not lie in us alone. We must awaken darkness far and wide, teach the masses to use it for good. But first, we must awaken its power fully. There was one whose knowledge of the darkness exceeded even our own. My grandfather, Clovis Bray the First. Elizabeth, he said to me as I woke, born again as an Exo, you are going to save the world. What a load of crap. The old man didn't care about saving the world. He only cared about his precious legacy. Still, here's to hoping he was right. Clovis kept most of his secrets in his personal journal, and I know just where we can find it.
All right, so now we begin with Born in Darkness. The Exo-Stranger is pleased with your progress acquiring and learning to use Stasis, but explains that it can still be further enhanced. She reveals herself to be Elizabeth Elsie Bray, granddaughter, of Clovis Bray. His experiments on Europa were filled with deceptions and secrets, the most important of which may have involved Exos, darkness, and by association, Stasis. Acquire his digital journal, and you're bound to discover further truths about Stasis, but the journal is currently locked. The Exo-Stranger removes a symbol from her own body and hands it to you, calling it a skeleton key. In order to access the journal, you must first empower the skeleton key with stasis energy. Follow the Exo-Stranger's guidance to empower the skeleton key. We need to gather energized ether by defeating Fallen on Europa. Use stasis melee against any combatants on Europa.
It's no longer a secret what lies within the deep stone crypt. The living embodiment of darkness, shrouded in the DNA of the Vex. My grandfather desired eternal life. He searched and searched, but in the end, he created it instead. From his fountain of youth, I and every other Exo was born. This is a truth we cannot hide from. The darkness within us. And so we must embrace it. The Guardians that entered the Deep Stone Crypt brought new life to the long-dormant machines of Europa. They carry with them knowledge long thought lost. Now is our chance to seize it.
And we get another piece. We owe so much to those who fought to save Europa from the Morningstar's attempted nuclear collision. Some of it lies in the wreckage on top of the crypt, but not all. Much remains in the atmosphere and falls now to Europa's surface. With the careening wreckage comes value we cannot overlook, as House Salvation has discovered. We must continue the fight against them and prevent them from acquiring anything that aids their continued violence. Look for the fallen debris. There you will find House Salvation. They must be stopped. So we must subdue the plans of House Salvation by thinning their ranks and completing public events and patrols in the current Eclipsed Zone. This is the zone where you get the faster stasis regeneration on any given day. Powerful combatants and heroic public events grant the most efficient progress. Okay, you will also see now that the Exo-Stranger has a whole bunch of quests for us. Fragment quests, fragments to acquire. Okay, this is where things get complicated. So Stasis, and again, this might not be the case by the time this video comes out, but as of right now, Stasis is the most frustrating subclass to acquire. Because every single time you get a Born in Darkness quest step done, you must complete them each in order. You get through up to 4 here, and once those are all done, you can then gather all of the aspects. Some of these aspects were actually added later on. Originally, there was only 2 aspects, and they eventually added it up to 4. So this was not something that you had to do all at once. They were kind of added throughout the season, so it was a little less daunting than you see it now. But here's the other problem is fragment quests. Now, you can only pick up 2 of these a week. And there is a Crucible-specific one, a Vanguard-specific one, and a Gambit-specific one. Trust me, just do the Vanguard one every single time. You pick these up, you can complete the quests, and you get a memory fragment. Each memory fragment can then be turned in to get one of the stasis fragments down here. I will explain how these all work as we're able to acquire them and what are the best ones to get for, at least as a hunter, where they can be a little bit different between Titans and Warlocks because they have different preferences than the way that their subclasses are built around. So it'll make more sense in due time. But we're going to at least talk about Hunter, go over these in due time. But yeah, so I need to get an aspect before I'm allowed to get any of these fragments, because aspects themselves actually unlock the fragment slots, if that makes sense. So we're going to be wanting to get Born in Darkness done as quickly as possible. Now, with all of that explanation done, and oh my gosh, we still have so much more to do, let's head out on into, we're going to actually be heading off towards the Braytech Exoscience so that we can start working on that very first. We want to work on this No Time to Explain Catalyst, and I would rather get that done immediately. This is going to be technically the first of several episodes that are going to be required to get all of the quote-unquote patrol stuff done here in Europa. We're going to be basically kind of just farting around for a few episodes, getting all of the region chests and lost sectors done, working on quests, working on catalysts, all that good stuff, and it's all just going to kind of systematically culminate into one big thing. On top of all of that, there is also, and I don't even think we have it unlocked yet, there is also a weekly challenge that we are eventually going to unlock by doing all of this stuff, so we're going to want to work on everything here as well as we continue to open up Europa. And that'll also be in due part to what we're going to be doing with Varix as well. So let's head off towards Braytech Exoscience and let's go and get a bunch of kills so that we can work on the Catalyst first thing here. Oh, man, there is a lot to do. There is a lot to do. I mean, content-wise, Beyond Light is not lacking in the slightest. It is an incredibly good expansion. It still gets beat out by subsequent expansions, but it is certainly, I would say, better than both Forsaken and, especially Forsaken at this point since the actual campaign is gone. But it's also better than Shadowkeep as well, I would say, in that regard. It also, while Forsaken itself doesn't actually give you a whole lot of good weapons,
there might be one in the nearby offices.
it is a pretty darn, and there's the schematics that we're looking for. It is still a whole lot better in pretty much every other department beyond Shadowkeep. So let's grab those. Maybe we're going to want to also make sure that we get melee kills as well. Now, are there more enemies over here? There's definitely other things that are trying to shoot at me. So I kill all of these as well. So let me get through all of those. And we're going to head up on in here. Open all of that up. And it looks like we also have a chest that we can unseal. So why don't we do that really quickly? And that one is actually going to unlock the Europa legs, so we can return to Varix when we want to get those for the Christokreen armor. Now let's head back on over to this, and we need to get one more schematic code fragment. So I'm going to continue to head on through here just enough to get that as we go. We should have it here relatively soon. And there we go. All right, get it soon, because it's the... All right, anyway, I'm just going to open this up really quickly. Because we have all of the splinters done, we're able to unseal basically every single door in the entire game. Now, because I am deliberately ignoring this quest, the Armor Synthesis Introduction, we're going to be coming back to that later. Just ignore everything that Ada says. Back to the Stranger we go. Because don't worry, actually unlocking this catalyst is incredibly simple. It's just a few more kills. I think all we have to do now is get like 40 Vex kills or something like that, and that's actually going to perfectly lead into one of the lost sectors. So here we go. I can only begin to imagine what this weapon was being designed for. Even on a small scale, its potential for harm is disastrous. I suppose that's very much like Clovis, isn't it? We can't begin the manufacture of these components till after some rigorous testing. I wouldn't throw caution to the wind like he would. All right, so there we go. Now, yep. Oh, sorry, 60. But we have to do it specifically in the Nexus, Infinitude, and the Glassway Strike. So let's see. I guess the Glassway area works as well. So we're going to probably have to head through Asterian Abyss and down into these areas. So I'm probably not going to actually be able to do this with the Lost Sector. So why don't we actually go and do that immediately? And that way, at the very least, that way, we can just kind of save the Lost Sectors for the next episode and kind of focus on all three at in order, in specific order. So yeah, this will be. I feel like this is pretty streamlined. I also don't have to worry about covering any of the public events here on Europa because we already did the only new public event here on Europa, which is the Fallen Briggs public event. All the other public events on this planet are ones that we have seen before. I believe. Oh gosh, the one with the Vex plates, Spire integration, I think is called, and then I'm trying to remember if there. I don't even know if there are any of these. There might be a Glimmer drill, a Fallen Glimmer one, or maybe Ether. I don't actually think there is any, now that I think about it. I think it really is just that. Yeah, the Briggs, and then there might be another one, but so don't quote me on that. Maybe the Fallen Walker one. But all right, here we go into the Nexus. Now we got a lot of enemies to kill, so do keep that in mind. But we're going to go on through here, and I think I was only supposed to get the melee kills on Fallen, if I remember correctly. Nope, any combatants on Europa, so let's just throw those around and hit them with that, and I'll be able to get more by doing a dodge here. But let's head off towards the Nexus first. We'll go off towards the Well of Infinitude, only if we absolutely need to. So we're going to basically just kind of run the same route as the Glassway Strike. There is, I want to say, a chest over this way as well that we can grab in the process. So we'll do that. See all those drones? Those are going to be important later on. Don't worry about them right now. They do have a purpose. So just keep that in mind. Let's get rid of all of them as we just continue to kind of multitask our way through all of this stuff. This is how I would advise doing all this stuff, is just kind of completing it all at the same time. The only thing I'm not going to be doing is the actual exotic quests at the exact same time here. And I think I do need to be getting more fusion rifle kills, yep, for that bounty in particular. So I might as well get that done. Where am I at with this one? Grenade launcher kills. I guess I could switch on over to Deafened Whisper if I so desired. But let's continue on through the Nexus here. So we continue to work on our rewind. And I don't remember how far. I don't know. Can you go all the way to the boss room here, or do you get stopped? I actually don't remember exactly. I guess we'll find out. But let's do that. And I believe that's all the melee kills that I need. And then the rest was, yep, Energized Ether from Fallen. So we're going to have to get that elsewhere. But Born in Darkness does not take too terribly long. Honestly, the fragments are so much worse than the aspects, if I could be honest with you. And that's what makes them so frustrating, because their requirements can be absolutely ridiculous and just they can be very tedious. They take about 2 to 3 strikes to complete sometimes. You can get, if you're lucky, you can get ones that only take like a single strike to do, but they're not super common. So let's just keep going. And, oh, okay, Time Chasm got that. I didn't even know it was out. And, yep, okay, we cannot get all the way to the Glassway area in particular, so now we're going to have to head back on over to the Well of Infinitude, so I will see you over there in just a second. Not me being an absolute frickin' buffoon and not getting the kills with no time to explain like I'm supposed to. Got a lot of melee and grenade kills like an idiot. That was my bad. All right, now we can actually continue with this. Get all those. And hey, we're actually getting Energized Ether this time. But, of course, these aren't actually the Vex. But don't worry, we'll find more of them down in the Well of Infinitude in particular. So let's unseal this thing. And then we may proceed. Don't worry, I don't believe there's any more Fallen down here. Just those few that were, like, right there. Which is cool and all, but we'll get more Energized Ether in the future, don't you worry. Probably in the next episode once we start heading into the Lost Sectors. Because if I remember correctly, one of the Lost Sectors is entirely Fallen, and another one is partially Fallen. So, yeah, I think that'll work out just fine. So let's just head on in through here, and let's go seek more Vex. There we go. Yep, that's what I thought. I had a feeling most of them were down this way. We just kind of march on through here. And this thing's got insane range to it, too, which is also really nice. I really do appreciate that about this pulse rifle. I mean, most high impacts are high range, but this one in particular, I just love the way it feels. It's so good. And then when we can get its frickin' catalyst done, that will make it even better. It does improve its stats quite a bit. It honestly is kind of underrated. A lot of people don't like this pulse rifle very much because it isn't like super outstanding or anything. It's kind of actually, like, thematically it's really cool. I don't think anybody can deny that, but in terms of like its actual properties, it's more on the generic side, so a lot of people write it off. don't write this thing off. It's actually really, really strong and a lot stronger than people give it credit for. You can use it pretty reliably in even high-level content if you're smart with it, just because of the amount of damage it does. And especially if you combine it, like on Warlock, with the Arc Souls, so that you have double turrets going, especially with the exotic Getaway Artist, it's ridiculously good. It really is ridiculously good. So yeah, don't write it off too quickly just because it seems to be, oh, it shoots a second set of mini shots. Who cares? No, it's actually pretty decent. All right, so this is probably our last stop with the Vex here. If we don't have enough here, we're probably going to have to head back on to the beginning of this area once again and then take them out in the Nexus because, yep, this is pretty much the end of that. So, yeah, I don't really see anything out there. What are we at kill-wise? 57s. I literally need 3 more. Well, before we get out of here, let's open up this chest really quickly. And there we go. Got ourselves more aged armor. I do believe that's actually for one we haven't claimed yet, but that's okay because we have it, and we can just auto-complete it as soon as we get it. So I will see you all back in just a second. And just like that, we are done. And now we need to go visit the Exo Stranger one more time. And that should be it for the quest portion of the Catalyst. Then all that remains is the actual unlockable portion of the Catalyst. And that is a bit more tedious, but also just kind of the nature of how Catalysts tend to work if you want to actually unlock their full benefits. If it was that easy, I mean, my goodness, nobody would ever... I mean, there would be no struggle whatsoever. That's just pathetic. So, and there it is. Clovis Bray's arrogance detailed in line graphs and metrics. Unbelievable. In the height of his hubris, he sought to build a weapon capable of bending time itself. Even with this calibration data, I'm not sure what the full realization of Clovis' design would be like. Faster than light cannon, capable of shooting across star systems. I have no intention of ever allowing anyone to find out. We have what we need to complete the weapon refit to suit our purposes. As for Clovis' instructions, they can die in obscurity with them. And there it is. The No Time to Explain Catalyst is ours. Now, we would like to slot this, but you can see here we need to get some targets defeated. Now, to do this, we need to get 700 kills with No Time to Explain, which means that I'm going to be very heavily maining this thing over the course of the next several episodes. I know, if you wanted to see me switch it up a little more, I'm sorry, but that's just kind of how Catalysts work. We are going to do our best to complete this. Plus, it'll actually be the first Catalyst that we have completed here in this Let's Play, so I think that'll be pretty cool. All right, before I call this an episode, I am going to give you guys one little surprise here at the end. I hit rank 65 on the Season Pass in this episode in particular, and if I head on over to it, you will notice that that's 2 exotic engrams. 2 exotic engrams that we now have available to us, mostly because I actually own the Season Pass. For the free one, though, it would still be an exotic engram. Why don't we open these up and see what we get? And we get 2 pairs of gloves. Now, I've already talked about earlier in this Let's Play what Liar's Handshake does because it's pretty freaking sweet. But if you don't know exactly, I'll remind you again. Using the arc melee ability or being hit by a melee attack will allow you to follow up with an extremely powerful melee counter punch that will heal you. So on a second melee or a retaliation melee, this basically, I think it's like quadruples the damage of the next melee, which in combination with something like combination blow times 3 is just stupidly strong. But on top of that, it also heals you, again, on top of combination blow, but it heals you. I believe combination blow starts health regen. This just straight up gives you health. So it's that on top of it. So if you want to really overcharge the whole combination blow dodge thing, this is the way to do it. Liar's Handshake is incredible in that regard. And look, I even have Charmed, I'm sure, an exotic ornament for it, which is, I think, pretty darn sweet. But then we also have the other exotic we got, Sealed Ahamkara's Grasps. Dealing melee damage reloads your currently equipped weapon. Provides a large benefit to the airborne effectiveness stat of all weapons for 5 seconds after dealing damage. So basically, you punch something, you reload your weapon. That's it. It's not really any much more than that. A lot of people will say that that's kind of weak. This has applications with certain weapons, but it works on any weapon. It doesn't have to be your primary. It can be your primary, your special, or your heavy. If you're within range to be able to hit something reliably, it's a nice way of quickly reloading, like a heavy, for instance. But this is kind of more one of those like specific strat armor pieces where, like, let's say you're doing boss DPS and you have enemies close by that you can punch to immediately reload your linear fusion or rocket launcher or whatever. This would actually work in that regard. But other than that, I really don't have a lot of applications for this exotic, which is probably why it's just kind of going to sit there. Now, my only problem with this Liar's Handshake is that I don't really like its stat distribution very much. Its two worst stats are quite possibly the two most important stats, which kind of sucks. I really wish that it was more in Resil and Discipline, so I'm probably not going to end up using that one all too much either, although it'll still have its uses in some bits of content later on, although we are pretty much done with seeing Arc for most of the rest of this Let's Play, because I think we spent a little bit too much time on it between the Forsaken and Shadowkeep campaigns. But guys, that is going to be it for this episode of Let's Play Destiny. Thank you all so much for watching. In the next episode, we're going to continue to work on the Born in Darkness quest, which is getting pretty close. We only need to get 31 more fallen kills. We've got lost sectors to do. We're going to be doing that as well. We're going to be working on region chests within the area. On top of that, we're probably not even going to get all that stuff done in the next episode. It's probably going to take 2 episodes to get all that I want to get. And we're going to also be passively working on the Stasis prototype all at the same time. We're going to be saving and reclaiming Europa for a couple more episodes in the future. But for now, that's going to be it for this one. Guys, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode very, very much. And I will see you all in the next one.